Hey everyone, so I'm back again with another video. This time around I have another collection to share with you guys. Now it's been a year since I last updated my PS Vita collection, and I have added a couple games since then, so I thought it was about time that I make another video about it. Now I'm gonna actually split this up into two separate videos just because it's about 20 games per video, so 40 games total. So I thought it would make more sense to split it up rather than have one extra long video. But before I get into it, I just want to say sorry because I am just getting over a cold. So if I do cough or sneeze or something like that during the video, sorry, just bear with me. But otherwise, let's get to it. So all these games are going to be in alphabetical order, including some special editions as well. Some of these games are just ports of other games, so they're not all that interesting, but you'll see when we get to them. First off is Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, and I have to say this and the 3DS version, obviously, are the worst versions of Batman Arkham Origins to play. It's just a really dumbed down, sort of cruddy looking version of the game, so if you have any console at all, 360, PS3, PS4, I think it was also ported to the PS4, but if you have any console pretty much, just get the console version rather than a handheld version of this game. Next game is Ben 10 Galactic Racing. I think this is on other consoles as well, but it's just a sort of mediocre racing game, obviously with Ben 10 characters, so if you like Ben 10, I can recommend it. Otherwise, just not really that fun of a racing game. It doesn't really have anything that's all that exceptional to it, except for the power-ups are kind of interesting at moments. Next game is Borderlands 2, and it includes all the add-ons as well. I'm still trying to get into the Borderlands sort of games, but the only one I've really been able to play is the Tales from the Borderlands Telltale game. That there, to me, is the most interesting one so far. But, of course, I've tried over and over again to play some of the Borderlands games, and I might get into it eventually. Next game is a game that I've been meaning to finish lately, but I haven't gotten back to it in a couple months. It's Child of Light. Just a really fun platforming RPG. The game that I can compare this to the most in terms of the way that the sort of action sequence works in this game is that it's most comparable to the South Park game, actually. The way that you sort of select your moves and stuff like that, except for that they also have a time feature in this where you get a bar that shows everybody's position, your characters and the opposing characters as well, and it shows you how fast they're sort of charging up, and you can slow them down or just let them go at their regular pace to sort of make your attacks go before them, but it's just it can be complicated at moments and difficult to sort of work out because you need to use a touchscreen for it, but it is still a very fun RPG. Next game is Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax. The only reason why I got this game is because it's a fighting game that features anime characters, some of which I like, some of which I've never heard of, but it's a fighting game and it has anime characters, and it did have a sort of Day 1 special edition that did come with a bonus soundtrack as well. That's it there, and it was just regular price, $40 at the time, so I thought, sure, that's a decent enough deal. And it is, well, it is an enjoyable game if you like anime. Otherwise, there are a bunch of other fighting games that you can play. Next game is another RPG, side-scrolling RPG that, again, I've been meaning to get back to for some time. Very stylized, very exaggerated body proportions, but it's still a very fun game, and you can play this alongside other people. So it's sort of co-op multiplayer, local multiplayer as well. It's Dragon Crown, and this was on the PS3 as well, so you can play it on the PS3 also. And I think you can also stream it from your PS3 to your Vita as well. I think there's a cross-play option there. So definitely an enjoyable game, especially to play with other people. You don't get many RPGs that you can play alongside other people these days anymore. Usually it's all just massively multiplayer online game or just a single player experience. Next game is Dynasty Warriors Next. I have not actually played this Dynasty Warriors game yet, but I'm assuming that it's just your generic Dynasty Warriors experience, probably with some touchscreen, touchscreen and motion sensing capabilities added as well. So probably if you move the console a certain way, it activates some kind of attack, or if you touch the touchscreen in a certain place, it also does other stuff as well. But if you played one Dynasty Warriors game, you've played them all. But each of them has something different that it offers. Next game is Final Fantasy X-10-2 HD Remastered. Again, I sort of made a mistake in buying this because it does only have 10.2 as a download code, and I bought this used, so the download code was used up, and it's just Final Fantasy X on here. So that kind of sucks, but I might try to find a brand new copy of that sometime down the road. Next game is a game that not only did I give up on it immediately, but lots of people gave up on it almost immediately. Freedom Wars. Basically, it's just giant monsters, and you go out and attack them and destroy stuff. There was online component to this as well, competitive multiplayer, but again, just everybody gave up on it, so that kind of sucks. Next game is a great game, amazing game on the platform, and it's also seen a re-release on the PS4 as well. I think it's like an HD remaster of it, and I think there's supposed to be a sequel as well. It's Gravity Rush. If you're gonna play any game on the Vita, this is the game to play. Definitely, day one buy. If you have a Vita and you're trying to find games for it, this is a game that you absolutely have to get and play. It's just a very enjoyable experience. The fighting is pretty fun, and the sort of gravity control in this game is also very enjoyable. See where it can send you and all the places that you can discover on the map. It's a really fun experience. Even if you're not actually doing anything in the game, just sort of floating around doing whatever, it's still a very fun game. Next game is another terrible port, but this is an exceptionally terrible port. It's Injustice Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition, and I have to say that this is even worse than the iOS version of Injustice that came out. Like, absolutely terrible port. If you're gonna play it on any other console. Do not play the Vita version of it whatsoever. The next game is Little Deviants, and I feel like this game here, all it really was a tech demo to show off the different features of the console, the touchscreen capability, the motion control, like all that kind of stuff. That's all that this really was for, even I think augmented reality as well. So, is this a game that you're really going to get back to? Not really. But if you're going for a Vita collection, since there's not that many games to begin with, you might as well grab it. It's only a couple of bucks at most places. Next game is a pretty decent puzzle game. There's versions of this game on multiple consoles, usually on PlayStation consoles, but recently I learned that there is a game for this series also on the 360s. Sorry if I mispronounce it, because I still to this day do not know how to pronounce this. It's Lumines Electronic Symphony, and it's a pretty fun puzzle game, but at the end of the day, it can get kind of boring. But at least the sort of visual experience that you get out of this game is pretty enjoyable. The next game is a game that I've gotten pretty recently. I actually got this past summer, but I have not had a chance to get into this yet. I have no idea how to actually pronounce this, but I'm going to say Mind Zero. If anybody actually knows how to pronounce that, please just let me know in the comment section below. I grabbed this because it was an only on PlayStation game, but I'm not too certain what this is actually about. I'm assuming that it's a mix between a sort of visual novel experience and an RPG, maybe a turn-based RPG experience, but not too certain. If anybody knows more about that game, please just let me know in the comment section below. Next game is Mortal Kombat, and this version here comes with Kratos included as well. I think that there have been other versions of Mortal Kombat in the past that have included all sorts of characters from other series. It looks like this one here also has Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street in it, but I have not played it enough to actually see any of those other characters. I think if I remember correctly, I've only played maybe 4 or 5 hours of this game, but yeah, I have not played much of the sort of story mode in it, so I don't really know if they come up later on in the story or if they're just sort of there for just the fighting, just for like the random fighting segment. But oh well, Mortal Kombat on the Vita. Next game is Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus. Honestly, I got this a very long time ago, back near when I first got my Vita, if I remember correctly, and I have not played this game in some time, so I honestly don't even remember what it's like. I'm assuming that it's just a sort of halfway stealth action kind of game with a lot of weird combos and stuff like that, but otherwise I don't quite remember how that game played. Next game is a game that I put a lot of hours into back when I first got my Vita, but I have not played a lot of it recently just because, well, this game sort of just was dead on arrival, but I tried to give it a shot. It's PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. It's basically just a Sony version of Super Smash Bros. With a whole bunch of different Sony properties, but you know what? At the end of the day, it was an enjoyable game. I just got over it pretty fast. And I had played a lot of the game as Kratos, and I tried playing other characters, and just so many of the characters in this game were not enjoyable to play whatsoever. And just the way that the sort of kills worked in this game, it seemed kind of weird. It wasn't like in Smash when you build up the percentage of sort of damage that the opponent has, and then the higher and higher percentage that they have, the easier it is to sort of just knock them out of the screen. The way that it worked in this game, you pretty much had to sort of build up a meter, then you got your super move, and only when you had that super move could you actually deal attacks that actually killed the enemy, which kind of sucked, but it was something different. They tried to differentiate themselves somewhat from Smash Bros, but oh well. Now, the next game here is a game that I just very recently picked up. I think I got this just a few weeks ago, if I remember correctly, maybe 2 weeks ago or so. I haven't had a chance to play this yet just because I've gotten back into playing Pokemon recently, pretty much just to trade through all my Pokemon from my older games into my Pokemon bank so that I can have them sort of set up for, well, the new games that are coming out next month. So I haven't gone around to play this yet, but it looks like it's a visual novel kind of game based off of the anime Psycho Pass. It's Psycho Pass Mandatory Happiness. And this one here, I think there was a special edition as well, but I didn't grab that. Pretty pricey, especially Vita games just in general are pretty pricey these days. This one here cost $50, but I got it with trade credit, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But hopefully I can get into it sometime soon. But honestly, to this day, I still haven't even finished the anime, so I really need to go back, finish the anime first, then get into this game. Not to say that this is going to spoil anything for me, like, I mean, it could, but I honestly don't even know. But I think I want to finish the show before I get into any of the other media in this sort of franchise. Now, moving on to the last game that I'm going to talk about in this video. It's an RPG that, honestly, I played for a while. I played maybe, I want to say a little bit over 10 hours of this game spread over a couple of weeks. I was really able to play this game, sort of just pick up and go, play for a little bit, then get back to it later on. But then a whole bunch of other games came in the way, and especially later on, a whole bunch of 3DS games sort of caught my attention. So I did end up getting back to this. Especially when I picked up this game, I bought a whole bunch of other brand new games at the time, including some Wii U games. So it sort of fell on my back burner, which kind of sucks, but it does happen with a lot of games. So hopefully I can get back to it sometime in the near future. It's Ragnarok Odyssey. There was also a updated version of this, if I remember correctly, called Ragnarok Odyssey Ace. This here also came with a special edition. This one was called the Mercenary Edition, and it came with a whole bunch of just random extras, an art book, I think some cards of some kind, some art cards. Yeah, 10 randomly inserted monster cards, and a soundtrack as well. All of the information is just on the back there. And that's the front of it. And it was enjoyable for what it was in the moment. A pretty interesting action RPG with interesting looking characters, and there was some character customization as well in this game, if I remember correctly. So I do want to get back to it sometime in the future, but for the time being, it's probably on the lower end of my back burner, so I'll get to it at some point. Anyways, that was the end of part 1 of my updated Vita collection. As always, leave comments in the comment section below. Anything you'd like to say, comments, questions, suggestions, ideas, anything at all, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Check out my Facebook, Twitter, and website. They're all linked in the description below. And also linked in the description below is a link to my 500 subscribers contest. Check that out as well if you'd like. And that's it. See ya.